Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Seriously, think about it. 1 minute, you're building a perennial contender, right? You're steadily gathering pieces for this massive championship puzzle. General Manager Chris Ballard spent 9 agonizing years sticking to a strict draft and develop philosophy. He was carefully, methodically laying down the bricks of what was supposed to be a dynasty in the Midwest. And then, the next minute, you are staring down the barrel of a loaded gun, realizing that the window hasn't just closed, it has literally shattered into a million pieces. Welcome to NFL Nexus. This is the place where we don't just report the news, we dissect the very heartbeat of the National Football League. Now, before we pull back the curtain on what is easily one of the most high-stakes, dramatic situations in football right now, do me a favor. Make sure you have those animated subtitles turned on, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment below with what you thought. Your feedback means everything. And hey, if you truly want to support the cinematic deep dive analysis we do here, consider becoming a channel member. It helps us keep the lights on and the film rolling. Today we are looking at a literal ticking time bomb. We are unpacking the incredibly critical 2026 season for the Indianapolis Colts. Look, this is not just another year on the calendar. This is a cinematic climax. Everything from the front office executives in their suites to the legendary players grinding on the turf is on the line.
Can this regime survive 2026? Let that sit for a moment. Just let it echo. In the NFL, time is the ultimate enemy, and for this front office, the clock is absolutely striking midnight. You know as well as I do, the NFL is not a patient league. It's a ruthless, unforgiving machine that demands absolute, undeniable results. And following a massive roster upheaval this past offseason, well, the excuses have entirely evaporated. If this team doesn't win, and I mean win right now, the structural foundations of this front office will be torn down to the studs. The survival of this entire regime hinges entirely on what happens in the next several months. There is no tomorrow.
Let's look at the sheer scale of the bloodletting that has already taken place, because the Colts haven't just lost names on a roster. They've lost the actual pillars holding the entire building up. Wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr. was the relentless, physical engine of the passing game. This was a player who literally sought out contact, setting an aggressive tone for the entire offense. Cornerback Kenny Moore II? He was the absolute heart and soul of the secondary, a true Swiss Army knife whose versatility in slot blitzing and run support dictated the defense's entire identity. Then you have right tackle Braden Smith, the immovable anchor on the offensive line since 2018, just swallowing up edge rushers week in and week out. And linebacker Zaire Franklin. He was the tackling machine, the guy wearing the green dot, organizing the chaos pre-snap, and serving as the vocal leader of that locker room. When you lose 4 foundational veterans of this magnitude, you don't just lose their on-field production. It goes so much deeper than that. You lose the locker room culture, you lose those hardened veteran voices that steady the ship when the waters get incredibly choppy in December. These departures have left massive, echoing voids across the roster. And let me tell you, you cannot simply patch those over with free agency band-aids. It just doesn't work that way.
Section 1. A franchise on the brink. A must-win season.
Section 2. The elite edge. Laiatu Latu.
So when you strip away those seasoned veterans, the immense weight of a multi-billion-dollar organization drops squarely onto the shoulders of players who are, frankly, barely old enough to rent a car. The margin for error is exactly 0. And the first player carrying that unimaginable weight is Laiatu Latu. Drafted 15th overall, Latu came into the league with massive, almost unfair expectations. But here's the thing. In his first year as a full-time starter off the edge, he didn't just meet those expectations, he violently shattered them. He erupted for 8.5 sacks, 45 tackles, 5 pass breakups, 3 interceptions, a forced fumble, and 12 tackles for loss. Let's dive into the granular details of exactly how he does this, because it's fascinating. It's not just raw speed, it is surgical precision. Latu uses this devastating cross-chop technique to knock away the offensive tackle's hands, and he possesses an ankle flexion that honestly defies physics for a 265-pound man. He can corner at incredibly acute angles, dipping his shoulder right below the tackle's punch, bending the edge with pure malice. And the company he is already keeping, it's terrifying for opposing quarterbacks. Look at this. We are putting a second-year player next to TJ Watt. TJ Watt is a demigod in this league, a gold jacket, first-ballot Hall of Famer, yet in 2025, Latu and Watt were the only 2 pass rushers in the entire National Football League to eclipse 2 or more sacks, 2 or more interceptions, and 10 or more tackles for loss. This isn't just a fun piece of trivia to throw around at a tailgate. This is a statistical anomaly proving that Latu is already touching greatness. The Colts are betting their organizational lives that Latu takes that final step this year and cements himself as a completely unstoppable force.
Section 3. Rebuilding the wall. Tanner Bortolini.
Now let's talk about the trenches. The center position is the absolute brain of the offensive line. The Colts drafted Tanner Bortolini to be the succession plan for longtime, legendary starter Ryan Kelly. Let's be real, that is an impossibly large shadow to step into. Imagine the mental processing required before the ball is even snapped. Staring across the line at a disguised zero blitz, the center has, maybe 3 seconds to read the safety rotation, identify the true Mike linebacker, call the slide protection to his guards, snap the football flawlessly, and immediately engage a 320-pound defensive tackle lined up right on his nose. It is mentally exhausting and physically brutal. But when he was thrust into the starting lineup, snapping the ball for quarterback Daniel Jones, Bortolini didn't just survive the gauntlet of NFL defensive interiors. No, he dominated. 82.6, that is the massive Pro Football Focus run-blocking grade Bortolini earned in 2025. It ranked third among all qualifying centers in the entire league. To put that into perspective, an 82.6 grade means you are not just getting in the way of the defender, it means you are physically imposing your will. It means you are driving grown, heavily armored men completely off their spot, creating massive rushing lanes. While he still has a tiny bit of refinement needed in pass protection, as a run blocker, he is already elite.
Section 4. The Giant, Jalen Travis.
But Bortolini isn't the only young piece carrying this line. Let me take you back to Week 13 against the Jaguars. When Braden Smith went down with a season-ending neck injury, a collective gasp went through the entire city of Indianapolis. You do not simply replace a staple at right tackle in the middle of a playoff race. Enter Jalen Travis. He's a rookie with minimal experience, drafted in the 4th round. He was basically thrown into the deep end and told to sink or swim. When tasked with surviving, he relied on physical traits that, quite frankly, simply shouldn't exist in human biology. Just marvel at these numbers for a second. 6'8", 340 pounds. That places him in the 95th percentile for size. But it's the athleticism that makes him a terrifying prospect. A 35-inch vertical jump. Let's be honest with ourselves here. A 340-pound man with a 35-inch vertical is a lot closer to a created Madden player with the sliders turned all the way up than a real human being. That explosion is in the 97th percentile, making it one of the most impressive showings for a tackle at the Combine since 1999. Add in an 83.5-inch wingspan, and you have a physical anomaly whose sheer geometry makes it nearly impossible for defenders to get around him.
Of course, raw size means absolutely nothing if you don't have the violent mindset to match it. Listen to this quote from offensive line coach Tony Sperano Jr. He said, "Guy's got natural power in his body. I just see some rare stuff in him. He's the kind of kid you want to bet on." In the high-stakes, pressure cooker environment of the NFL, coaches do not throw around the word rare lightly. When Sperano says he wants to bet on Travis, he is quite literally betting his own career. In the trenches, hand fighting is a martial art. It's about the exact timing of the initial punch, using independent hands to swat away a pass rusher's swipe, and having the core strength to drop anchor when a defensive end tries to convert speed to power. The coaching staff saw that violence in his hands and decided they trusted him to protect the edge when the lights were the absolute brightest. And you know what? That bet paid off in an unbelievable baptism by fire. In the final stretch of the season, Travis played 168 pass blocking snaps exclusively against 2025 playoff teams. We're talking the Jaguars, the Seahawks, the 49ers, and the Texans. Think about who that actually involves. You are lining up against Josh Allen, trying to absorb his elite speed to power rush. You are facing Nick Bosa, dealing with his surgical hand technique and relentless motor. Thrown to the wolves as a rookie, he allowed just 1 single sack and 10 pressures. He stood his ground and completely locked down the right side of the line against some of the most lethal edge rushers in the sport.
Section 5. The primary weapon. Josh Downs.
Pivoting over to the offensive firepower, the dynamics of head coach Shane Steichen's passing game have violently shifted overnight. With Michael Pittman Jr. traded away to the Pittsburgh Steelers, an incredible 111 targets from last season are suddenly just up for grabs. Pittman wasn't just a receiver, he was the focal point of everything they did. With him gone, Josh Downs steps right into a massive vacuum of opportunity. But make no mistake, this is an incredibly difficult transition. In 2025, 76% of Downs' targets came from the slot. Playing in the slot often gives you a free release. You have a two-way go against off coverage, allowing you to use your quickness and space. Moving to the boundary, though, that means facing physical, aggressive press man coverage. Cornerbacks are going to jam him right at the line of scrimmage, trying to disrupt the timing of Steichen's entire offense. Downs is entering a pivotal contract year, and he has to prove, without a doubt, that he can beat the jam and win on the outside.
Understanding exactly what kind of receiver Downs is crucial here. He is not just some gadget player who catches screens behind the line of scrimmage. No, 60% of his receptions resulted in a first down. He is a ruthless chain mover. Picture this cinematic scenario for me. It's 3rd and long in the 4th quarter. The defense sends a heavy cover 0 blitz. The pocket is instantly collapsing around Daniel Jones. Most young receivers would panic or run their route blindly into double coverage, but Downs doesn't. He calmly reads the linebacker's leverage, chops his feet, and settles perfectly into the soft spot of the zone just as the ball is released. He became the ultimate security blanket, the very heartbeat of the passing game when everything else broke down around him.
Check this out. Out of 11 do-or-die targets on 3rd and 4th down, Josh Downs converted 8 of them. Let's slow down and really feel the weight of a 4th and 4 in December. The game is entirely on the line, the defense knows you have to pass, and the entire season hangs in the balance. Downs comes down with the football 8 out of 11 times in those exact situations. That is the very definition of cold-blooded reliability. But the terrifying question for this upcoming explainer is, can he sustain that elite clutch efficiency now that he is the primary focus of every single defensive coordinator's game plan? He won't have Pittman drawing the opponent's #1 cornerback or commanding a safety over the top anymore. For the first time, Downs will be facing elite, bracketed coverage. The spotlight is entirely on him.
Section 6, Survival or Total Collapse, the 2026 Climax.
So, we have spent this explainer looking deeply at the immense talent and the incredibly heavy burdens placed on Latu, Bordolini, Travis, and Downs. But why does this all matter so deeply right now? Because a ticking clock is echoing loudly through the concrete halls of Lucas Oil Stadium. The overarching narrative of the 2026 Indianapolis Colts is approaching a dramatic, irreversible climax. Impending free agent franchise cornerstones are looming large. We're talking about left guard Quentin Nelson, a generational talent whose vicious pull blocks set the physical tone for the entire team. Running back Jonathan Taylor, a rushing champion and the literal engine that makes the play-action pass function. Defensive tackle DeForest Buckner, the undisputed soul of the defense who routinely wrecks interior blocking schemes. These aren't just players. These men are the identity of the Indianapolis Colts. And as of right now, all 3 are set to hit the open market after this season. Think about the gravity of that. If the team fails in 2026, if this young vanguard of breakout players stumbles under the immense pressure, and the team suffers a losing season, this legendary core will look around. They will realize the championship window is closed, and they will walk out the door. The Colts are bracing for a potential mass exodus that would trigger a total, agonizing, multi-year rebuild.
So we leave you with this lingering, provocative thought. Will these breakout stars be enough to stop the exodus? Can a 22-year-old edge rusher, a 4th-round center, a literal giant at right tackle, and a slot receiver thrust into the #1 role actually save the Indianapolis Colts from total collapse? The entire future of the franchise rests squarely on their shoulders. The margin for error is gone. It is do or it is die. Thank you for diving into the deep end with us today. This has been NFL Nexus. If you appreciate this level of cinematic, detailed analysis, you know exactly what to do. Make sure you've got those animated subtitles turned on, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button on the video, and let us know your thoughts down in the comments. We read them all. And to truly support the team here and keep these deep dives coming week after week, please become a channel member. We will see you on the next one.